What's up, everybody? It's Conversations with Cobi. We've been doing this every Wednesday. I hurt my back. I got some other things. You see, my background's different. We got a lot going on here. But I'm back right now. This is a special time at 9 o'clock. I don't normally do it, but we got summer hours. I hope some of you are still up watching us and really enjoying what we're trying to put together for you. So today, I've been through a lot. Like it's getting my kids together, putting things together, organizing the show. As you know, we started every Monday. We got the Fab Sports Talk. Now, that's not my thing. You'll see the true host and co-host coming up this Monday, but we'll have it rocking and rolling. And one thing I've learned is that leadership, right, is about you serving instead of telling. And what I mean by that, as a coach, as a leader, as a boss, not only do I accept the example of what I expect from you, but I give you all the encouragement and tools to reach the plateau I want you to reach. So today, I'm talking to my brother. You know what I mean? He's the Black Enterprise 2018, not Man of the Year. He's going to kill me because I just had a blank and forgot it. But he's also the 2017, 2018 Teacher of the Year in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm going to bring on my brother, Joe Freeman. What's up, my brother?
What's going on? First, thanks for having me, man. First of all, thanks for allowing me to use, you're using your platform to bring me in to talk about the start, talk about the struggle, and talk about how literacy can improve our young people's lives, man.
Yeah. And so, like you didn't just you weren't born a writer. I love that shirt, actual author. That's dope because that's no matter how big or how small the book is, that's an accomplishment.
Right.
And but like even the reason I talked about leadership in the beginning of this show was not only are you setting the example for your students, but you're also giving them tools to reach that and the encouragement, and then putting other things in places for other students to reach that goal or reach those heights, man. And so I wanted to figure out like how, first of all, like before we talk about all this Man of the Year, Teacher of the Year, all these other things, who is Joe Freeman?
No, listen, man. Joe Freeman. At the end of the day, I'm just a kid with a dream that really like to journal, like to write, and I like to share stories. And I really am passionate about reaching young people. So before I get into being a father, being a husband, getting into being a black male, I'm someone that loves to empower youth, someone that loves to get back to his community, someone that loves to see people winning and doing well. And so I try to find a way to use my gift the best of my ability.
Wow. So like, when did that light bulb go off that that's what you wanted to do? Like you wanted to take whatever gifts to empower you. When did that happen for you?
Man, so I can remember my fifth grade teacher saying to me, like I had this journal, and I was a big dude. Right now I'm 6 feet, 225 pounds. I'm a pretty big dude. But I was big as a kid. And my teacher would say, like, hey, you got a journal? And I'm like, yeah, I have a journal, man. The places I can't go physically, mentally, I can go to those places. I live close to the airport in Florida. So when planes would fly over, I would mentally imagine being in those places, imagine those planes coming from all these other places. And I would write that down and journal in my journal. But as time went on, sometimes life can make you get away from some of those things you were doing as a child. So when I became an educator and I saw how important it was and how that can be almost therapy for our kids, is just writing things down, I started to revisit that. My oldest son said, Dad, you should write a story about living in Delaware, moving to Florida and having to adjust and not believing in yourself and being afraid to talk and being a guy of your stature and your athletic ability, but still journaling, and keeping a log of your thoughts. And I started to write those things down, and I started to share them with people to see. And the feedback I got back was phenomenal, man, and it was inspiring. And I said, what better way to reach as many kids as possible? Like I'm in a classroom, I can reach probably 30 kids at the most, right? 30, 35 kids at the most. But in a book, it's limitless. And so I started to do small gigs where I would go out and speak to different schools
Mm-hmm.
and talk to kids about how important literacy is and being literate and how important education is. And so from Boston to Philly to Jersey to New York to Long Island. I've been to Mississippi. I've been to Florida. All these different places on the East Coast, trying to empower youth. And so it's left a burning sensation with me, man, inside of me that I just want to touch and talk to as many people as possible.
Wow, that's dope, man. Because I know like writing sometimes is the kids, especially a male who's an athlete, because they like tactile, physical things to
Right,
communicate their ideas, to do that daily. That's a discipline,
right.
and that's it's something strong, man. And so let's talk about that writing. That evolved into you writing a set of books.
Yes, it did.
So let's give everybody the name of those books and then how you evolved in each book.
So my first book, The Adventures of BG, The Importance of Self-Esteem. That's my first one. BG is me. If you look right here, BG is me when I was around 8 years old. So I sent a picture of my nephew in. I said I took a picture of him, my brother's son, and I sent a picture into the illustrator and said, "Hey, I want this kid to look like him." And I told my nephew, "Listen, this kid is modeled after you, so you can know and know what it feels like to be in a book, to be a part of a book. This book is in the Library Book of Congress and in DC. So even if I'm not around, my kids or my ancestors can pick this book up and find it." So that was the first book, The Importance of Positive Self-Esteem, just believing in yourself. And I would see kids like me gravitating to different tables, different groups, to trying to find that social dynamic that they needed to be able to interact with. And it was sometimes uncomfortable, but at the end, you had to believe in yourself. You had to understand how important you were and what things that you brought. And if no one told you that, sometimes it was hard to see that. So that positive self-esteem was my first thing I pushed, and I impacted a lot of kids. And then my second book, and all these books are based off of like real stories and real characters. My second book, The Adventures of BG, Friendship at Its Best. This book deals with making good choices. One of the characters in my book has leukemia, and so it talks about what leukemia is and the adventures in the hospital. Every book has an adventure. There's adventures in the hospital.
So hold up. I don't want to interrupt, but I want to get to that because that was because of you being a teacher, seeing a kid with leukemia.
Yes.
Talk about that kid if you can for a second and how that spurred you and created that idea.
So this kid, first of all, was one of the bravest kids I've ever met because he was going through chemo at the time, and it made him extremely tired. And so the kids began to feel like he was being lazy because he didn't want to play soccer, he didn't want to play sports during recess. And so I said, I want to visit him. They won't allow me to go visit him at the hospital. And when I visited, what I noticed was they told me before I got on the floor, they said, "Listen, don't come in with pity. Don't bring any pity. Don't bring any sorrow when you come in, because the kids can feed off of that, and they don't want to. They just want to be known as kids. They want to have fun and want to be accepted as kids." So I had to get myself together, emotionally first. And then when I went in, I noticed, man, that these kids had a floor. Even though they had IVs attached to them, they were dancing, they were singing songs, they were doing all these things. And I right away, um, I spoke to him and I said, I see that you are still having fun. You're still enjoying life. And he said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "You'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a stuffed animal." He had a stuffed animal with him. I said, "I'm going to bring this back to the classroom, and I'm going to send you pictures of everything that we're doing with this stuffed animal. He's going to sit at your desk, and he's going to remind the students and remind us that you're still a part of us, and remind you you're still a part of this class." So I take pictures. We go on field trips. The animal's right there with us. Take pictures on the field trip. We're doing math tests and quizzes. He's at the desk. I'm taking pictures of that. And I would send them to his mother every day. And that gave him a sense of he wanted to fight even harder to be back in the classroom with us. And I said, "You know what? I want to put this in a book, man. I want to show people." I gave him the nickname the Iron Man. This kid, yeah. In the book, and he has the same name in the book. And I wanted to show people, like, listen, man, some of our strongest people are kids. This kid is one of the strongest people I've ever met. And right now, his cancer is in remission, and he's doing well, man. He's doing well, and I'm proud of him. But I'm also proud of how the kids responded. So it was one of those things where it is a book, but it's also a tool. It's a tool because a lot of our kids are struggling in silence, man. This kid, he didn't have the words to express how he felt. He was missing his class, and and how he felt his classmates were treating him a certain kind of way. And sometimes parents don't even know that. They just thought he was just battling with the cancer, and that was causing him to shut down. But that wasn't it. And with my book, man, one of the first questions has discussion questions in the back. And the first question, it says right here in the back, if I just read one of them, it says,
Yo, but I gotta say something. That's you a consummate teacher. You got a question. So the book is, like you said, it's a tool.
it's a tool.
Not only because they can read and learn something from it, but you created the discussion questions. So now they can be cognitive about their decisions when it comes to those things.
Right.
Yo, that's dope, man. Go ahead. Continue. I'm sorry, brother. That's stuff to me.
So the first question, it says, what does Big L's story teach you about never giving up? So here we are. We got the Big L, the main character that has leukemia. What does a story teach you about never giving up? What can we learn from that? If you could change anything at the end of the story, what would it be? What would you change? So that's, again, I'm having you create your own ending. A lot of times with stories, kids, the stories at the endings are told to them. But if you could change anything about this story, what would you change? And I'm always interested to see what kids say about it. You think kids always want a happy ending. Sometimes they don't. And then, and if they don't, I ask them why. So why wouldn't it have a happy ending? And then they may say, well, my life, I never have a happy ending. How they respond is now how I respond to you. And this is a tool that parents can use to see where their kids are. And that was my second book. These books can be found on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target. And my third book, this came out in September of 2020. This is The Adventures of BG, Lucky Enough to See the World Differently. This is my first book where my first main character is autistic. And he ends up being a hero, man. This guy, Truesdale, which the name means honesty and loyalty. He ends up being a savior, man, to this whole little group of people. And the adventures in a theme park like Six Flags. And they end up getting lost. And we end up finding out that one of the other characters is on the spectrum. And just because of the lights, it was too many. It was how the person reacted to the lights. So the different forms of autism and the effect of autism and how it affects everyone differently is another thing that this book gets into. This book.
And it's crazy because you mentioned that is I have a lot of students sometimes that are on the spectrum, but just some of they may not be good in the math class, or they may not be socially. They may be socially awkward, but they're some of my strongest students for video production and graphic design because their creativity is off the charts.
Yes, sir.
And I enjoy them because they think differently and they engage and feel and deal with the world differently.
Yes, sir.
So that's dope, man.
That's man. Listen, this book right here, I didn't realize there was so many people with autistic kids. I didn't realize there were so many people that, but their kids they were keeping the kids almost a secret until my book came out. And they said, well, did you know that Lil Jane was autistic? Did you know that Johnny was autistic? I'm like, what? I had no idea, because they never shared that. This allowed them to be comfortable to share that, hey, my child is not doomed because they've been labeled autistic. Some of our brightest people are autistic or on the spectrum. And, I just wanted to show people another side, And so this book has vocabulary, has definitions, the autism spectrum disorder. It has.
I'm glad that teacher come out and
And listen, it comes out automatically because I got to let people know. When I mention words like meltdown, or judge a book by its cover, or even tolerance, I want my young people to be able to go to the back and understand what they're reading. It helps with comprehension. I mean, we know that. So if you don't know what the words mean, your comprehension you're lacking comprehension right there. You're missing a piece. But I want you to also to feel what these characters are. Describe how you think the main character feels in the beginning of the story, and then describe the main character's feeling at the end of the story. So how did the beginning and how did the ending change? How did the character?
What was your biggest challenge with getting through the series or coming up with these ideas for those books?
It has to touch me. I'm gonna be honest with you. It has to touch me. People they were like with the Black Lives Matter movement, or they were with the protests, right? So they were like, you should write about that. And I'm like, okay. So what I'm working on now is a book on how all these characters I got BG, I have Truesdale, who's Jewish. I have Ronnie, who's Mexican. I have Big L, who's of Asian descent. I have Robbie, her brother. They're from Pakistan. So I got Pakistani, I got Puerto Rican, I have Jewish, I have African American. I got my boy Leon, who's Jamaican. So I got West Indian. They all experience this protest, the same protest, all differently. So I want to show people that we all experience the same thing, but what we take away from that can be completely different. So
Wow.
yeah, so what it has to touch me. It has to stay with me. It has to resonate with me, and these things have. The fourth book should be out very soon. I finished it already. I'm going to be pushing it out. I'm looking for a Sigma or Zeta illustrator for this fourth one, man. Because my young guy Lamik, he's moved on to he's working now. But this guy I discovered in high school that did my second and my third book.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna come back to the books, but I want to talk about this. You were the Black Enterprise Modern Man of 2018, right?
Right.
So that's a lot. Like everybody knows about Black Enterprise, but they picked you to be the Modern Man of 2018 because of in the classroom, after school programs, the books, all these things. Talk about that. Tell me about that experience from nuts to bolts, from beginning to end. Talk to me.
It's an unbelievable experience. First of all, the thing that comes to my mind that stays with me, that will stay with me forever, is how my grandmother received it. For me, it was just like, okay, it's a magazine company. It's, they recognizing me. That's awesome. That's cool. But how my grandmother saw it. My grandmother said, listen, you are a Black male. To go from such humble beginnings, to go from not even liking to read in school as a kid, third, fourth grade, not even really knowing how to read, to being featured in Black Enterprise. That's amazing. That's that's a story on its own. So for them to have an interest, and first of all, I thank them. I thank them for allow me to use their platform to recognize me. To have an interest in what I'm doing is unbelievable, man. I'm an educator, yes. I love to empower youth, but that's not all I am. I'm also trying to use my gifts to do scholarships. And that's to show people you don't have to be rich to give back. A lot of times people think you got to be rich. They when they see me come to the school, they be like, "Oh, this dude must be a professional athlete. He must have played baseball, basketball, football." Neither. I didn't play any of
Tell
those.
us about the scholarship. Tell us like what it is and how it works.
Yeah, so the scholarship, man, I'm looking. It's for my old high school, Glade Central High School in Florida. We're looking for minority students from 2.5 to 3.0. You write an essay on things that you're seeing that are going well in your community and things that you feel that can be changed or impact for a positive way in your community. So they write this essay, 1,000 words. We go through them. My best friend and I, Manuel, who's also one in the characters in my book, my daughter's godfather. We go through them and we decide, who's touched us most, who has the most impact. And then we award them with $1,000. We give them a suit, business suit, dress shoes to go with the suit. And sometimes we even give them suitcases depending on what they need. But what we give them that is priceless is they all get our cell phone numbers and we all stay in touch with them. I text them every 2 weeks. These boys are juniors, sophomores, seniors in college now, freshmen in college. And we text them and we let them know, like, listen, at any time you can't talk to your father or something you can't talk to your mother about, you can always call us. And that's what we didn't have. I didn't have someone that wasn't a relative that I could call that had gone to college and had come from my neighborhood and experienced things, and I could relate to them. But they have that. And anytime they call me or they text me, I answer it. And I still have great relationships with them today. So you get more than just a scholarship. You get more than anybody can give money and turn away. It takes a special person to be able to invest in the child and to be patient with them and make a connection. And that's what we do, man. And we're proud of that. And that's the scholarship. And then the next thing, man, in the after school, I would keep these kids and I would have all these parents, they would pay for all these materials and I would do science projects with them. I wanted to make an impact in my school. And so my business partner came to me. He was like, listen, how much, what are you charging? I'm like, I'm not charging anything. He was like, listen, you can get better materials if you charge it a fee. So we got together. We formed F&F Dynamics, fnfdynamics.com. Check out our website, people. It's a science and engineering component. He's Featherstone, I'm Freeman. You get F and F, and it's phenomenal, man. We went from having 8 students, right, to 171 students in the program. To over 170 students. FNFdynamics.com. Over 170 some students in the program, man. And we start off with basic science, and this is my love for science. So out of love for science, me finding my niche, and me talking to kids, I said, well, what do y'all want to do? The kids said, we want to do more experiments, we want more chemical reactions, we want more solar power cars, we want all these things. I said, okay, let's do it. We created a curriculum. We just recently got a partnership with Porsche here in Atlanta. So when we're making salt power cars and making solar power cars, guess what we do then? We go and take a field trip to the Porsche plant, and we get a private tour with the engineers who designed the Panamera that is powered by, as a hybrid. And we go through how this relates to what they're doing. And that's full circle, man. Oh,
like you can see, like as they say, like you are that modern man. You're trying to figure out and build in your communities, and you're starting from the ground up with mentorship, education, and providing access and resources. That's dope, bro. Like there's a lot, like Atia Simmons said that she's she's motivated. And like I used to be I was an avid educator.
Right.
I had an avid classroom.
Right.
A lot of people know about avid, some people don't. Advancement via individual determination. I had an all boys class.
Yes, sir.
And it was great because the camaraderie that we had in the class about who we are moving to the next level. And to this day, some of them still, like I got one, he's my friend on Facebook. His name is Eddie Stafford III. And it's interesting to watch them grow from where they are to from where they were to where they are.
Right.
So what words for any brothers like that watching the show, young brothers, what words would you have for them?
Listen, first thing I want to tell you, brothers, listen, your voice matters. How you feel, your opinion matters. It is cool. It is cool to love science. It is cool to love engineering. It is cool to be a storyteller. Like we're some of the best storytellers in the world. But guess what we don't do enough of? We don't write it down enough. I just want you to think back of how many people in our neighborhoods are great at telling stories, to keep you captivated, to keep you hooked, but we don't write them down. So guess what? Somebody else end up telling our story. So I want to, from my mouth to your ears, I want to tell you right now, listen, all it takes is one. It takes one. You can be the changing factor to change that cycle. You can be the determined factor. It is not a look. You don't have to look a certain. You look at me right now. I told you. You see me. I got the hat on, flipped up. I got the hoodie on. There's no look. That's the first thing. You don't have to look like an author to be an author. You don't have to look a certain way to be an engineer. It's a state of mind. So you have to start believing that you can achieve it. And there's no difference in us. The only difference is that we felt like we could do it, and then we started to work hard. But you can't be afraid of hard work. You're not gonna always be told yes. You're not gonna always be welcome, but you're gonna have to push. So that's what I want to share with my young people, man. Continue to push it and challenge yourself. If someone is not challenging you, or if you're not challenging yourself, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You're becoming complacent, and you're just going along with everyone else.
Yo, we're gonna have to get you back on the show, man. Our 30 minutes is up. We're a little short, but I'm gonna have to get you back on the show, brother, because the stuff that you're doing is dynamic. It's foundational for a lot of our youth, and it's empowering and inspiring to others to watch you work, man. Like I'm sitting here getting a chill, listening to you talk to these brothers and listening to your story, because I understand being in the field, being in the grassroots, being in the trenches, what it's like, and dealing with and bringing those young men together, and how much of an impact we can have on their lives, and taking them in another direction. And just like you, if it wasn't for a few people, for me, I might be doing the average every day, same old. But I was blessed enough to have a few people that were like you in my life, that gave me somebody to call, or somebody to talk to, or somebody that believed in me. Not just that I could talk to them, but they believed. If I said that I couldn't do something, they would slap me. Tell me I'm tripping.
Sometimes you need that.
Yo, I think I needed it a little bit more than most. So, brother, I appreciate you. This is Brother Joe Freeman. You know what I mean? Atlanta school teacher. His books are The Adventures of BG. The Adventures of BG. There's 3 in the compilation series. The 4th one to be out soon. You can check them out at Walmart.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Target.com, Amazon. If you do get the book, leave a review. You know what I mean? So this brother's doing his thing. Please appreciate you. Any words for the family out there, brother? Your last words for the family?
Listen, man, first of all, I want to say go Ma. You know, those that know. Those that
right.
You know what I'm saying? Those that don't, they don't. And so that's what we do. We move in excellence, man. So people need to understand that. And the second thing I want to say is I appreciate the opportunity again, because it takes people, man, it takes time, it takes effort. And I see your effort, man, to share your gift with the world. And I'm happy I was able to be a part of it.
Brother, I thank you and I appreciate you. And everybody, remember, please go out and check out this brother Joe Freeman. You know, he's in Atlanta. He's doing some wonderful stuff. If you want to get with a scholarship, shoot him an email. We'll get that up later. And let's make this work. And remember, we got the show. I got to do my last plugs. Please check in. Please. I'm going to tell you this too, brother. It's Melanin Magic Shea Butter. Soror makes it. It's all natural ingredients. She started out with breast cancer and she made it. My wife uses it. Every time she puts it on, it's bound chicka wow wow. And so I advise you, it's at shopmsb.com. Shopmsb.com. Check it out. And if you're in Philadelphia and you're trying to ship something, you got to go down to 3rd and Girard. You know, the UPS store. Like I'm having a brain fart. The UPS store down at 3rd and Girard. If you send it, they'll ship it. All right, check it out. Everybody, I love you. Every Wednesday, Conversations with Cobi. Peace.